Yeah, there was Les Roberts at Selhurst Park, obviously very frustrated with what went on, as are all we. We've got Matt Flusk, Dave Downey, Paddy Boylan with me. Paddy is only one place to start, really, amazed the red card for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. As it stands, going to miss 3 games coming up. I think 2 of them will be Premier League games, 1 will be the replay. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm staggered he's been given a red card. Where are you on it?
Yeah, ludicrous decision. We're just looking through the rules then. And it has to endanger the safety or use excessive brutality towards an opposition player. I don't think it does either of those 2 things. You can slow it down, you can watch every replay you want. I don't even really think he makes contact. Kind of brushes past the Palace player. For me, it's just... It's arguably not a foul. If it is a foul, it's a yellow card. And I'm struggling to see how they ended up at that decision, really.
Dave, you were shaking your head a bit there. Do you not really agree?
No, I don't agree. Not just for the sake of it, but I think you get your... And this, I think we've spoken about this in the past this season, about when someone puts a foul in. These are so strict on you having your studs up when you put your foot anywhere near anybody. But he does make contact. The lad's gone down, which I think if it happens the other way, we'd rightly want our player to do, to try and get someone sent off. Obviously, that's regardless of what happens, but firstly, I don't think he needs to make the challenge as well in that position. I think it's where he is, just quite a ridiculous thing to do. They've got the ball.
Get criticised if he doesn't make the challenge.
I think that's a valid question. I do think that's a valid question. And look, I wouldn't be saying this if he won the ball greatly and then we go forward and score.
But I think he does win the ball.
It's
different. His thighs. He traps the ball between his thighs. He wins it clean.
He doesn't. You lads are making me a party. I don't think he needs to do it, firstly. And then secondly, when he does, and there's contact made to that lad's shin, or whatever it is, his calf, whatever it is. So, yeah, any sort of contact like that, all 4 of us sat here know what's about to come. We can sit here all night saying how ludicrous it is to have those decisions in the game, the way they're judged. He goes back, he's been told to go back, comes back, nice square hand, gets sent off. We know that's going to happen. He does. That's what frustrates me a lot about that happening. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be the thing about it, but it did, and he knows that.
The only reason it happens is because of an intervention from somebody that's nowhere near the ground, that's watching on a screen somewhere else. The referee's right next to it and doesn't give even a foul in that situation. He's been told to look at it, but I'm looking at the rules. Does it endanger the safety of a player? I don't think it does, because there's no contact really. And
is that put forward in any contact though, in context though, Paddy? Because you can say that's a decision, but you can't watch every single one saying that's that, and it's 50-50. They're not defined, are they?
Yeah, you have to. If the on-field decision is no foul, no card, then you have to find something material that changes the mind of the official, and that leads us to this decision. The only reason it's given is because somebody in Stockley Park or wherever it is refers it to the screen, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the official looks at the screen and has effectively been told, this is a red card, I need to give a red card here.
I can't turn this one down.
It's still not a red card. Is there excessive brutality? There's no excessive brutality. Is there excessive force? There's no excessive force. I don't know how it's a foul. I don't know how it's a red card, and for me it's scandalous. I don't see how it can be given.
Matt, how do you feel about it?
Much the same as Paddy. It's not out of control. He's basically on the deck. One of his legs is tucked so far behind him, it might as well be up his arse. Like, his studs might be showing, but he's not led with his studs. Like, if you look at the way he actually chops the ball, he sees the ball coming towards the player. He's slid in to intercept the ball before it gets to the man and chop it between his legs, which is exactly what he's done. It's a fantastic interception. It's a good challenge. It's not even a foul. And we had an FA licensed referee sat with us tonight. And I think he won't mind me saying, he's got very frustrated with our very partisan shout over the past few weeks about the conduct of referees. Even he was sat there with his mouth agape at that decision. And he told us he thinks it's going to be overturned on appeal. It's completely baffling. And Sean Dyche said a couple of weeks ago I think it's about the handball, the Onana one. When the referees are sent to the screen, Paddy said it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Just once, it would be nice to see one of them go to the screen and go, now, I'm the man on the field, I'm going to keep it my decision, Like, I'm not going to let some nerds in a computer room in the middle of the country tell me I've done it wrong after 1,500 replays. He was stood there on the field. There was the assistant referees as well. Not one of them's flagged. Not one of them's even signalled for a foul. And he wasn't exactly unsighted. He can't exactly say, oh, I didn't see it at all. But now I've seen it on a replay, that's a red. He's just been completely press ganged into this decision. And I think if you were to put a true serum in him right now, this very moment in time, and say, do you think that was a red card? Even still, you'd probably go, no.
No, I think you're right, yeah. I totally agree with that. I think what you've all said about as soon as it goes to the screen, it's almost like any referee who goes against the screen now is going to be a big story in itself. Did you watch the game the other night? The Thursday game, which nobody was watching. Well, actually, this referee got told to go to the screen, and he didn't go to the screen. Well, he didn't give the decision that went on screen. But you mentioned before, Matt, about the Allen one against Newcastle a couple of years ago. And I remember saying to Mose when we did the post-match podcast after that, I could kind of understand why that one got given, because that was like a proper desperate lunge. And it was, it probably wasn't a red card, but he lunges a bit.
A lack of control.
Yeah, that one was out of control, wasn't it? There's nothing about that tackle on Calvert-Lewin tonight that indicated that he was out of control. Listen, if you want to give a foul because he's brushed the lad with one of his studs on his sock, as you said there, then fine, it might be a foul. But I think to give that as a red card when he's not lunged in, he sort of goes in, takes the ball with his foot behind him. The one on top of it sort of comes over the top of it, and he catches Klein a little bit.
Is it a clear and obvious error, by the way?
Well, no, it's not, is it? It's the same as, in some senses. It's obviously much more devastating to us because we might lose for 3 games now. Yeah. But it's similar to that Gomez one, isn't it? The other weekend Spurs, where you look at that and think, does that warrant a VAR to get involved and say, this is such a bad decision that you need to overturn it? The Spurs one, I think I said at the time, was maybe, I probably thought it was 55-45, a foul at the time. I think it's probably just a foul. That tonight, I think it's probably 70-30 in our favour, not a foul, and you're still interfering, saying to send them off. It's just mad.
Do you think he's in control?
Yeah, I think
he's
absolutely 100%. He knows what he's doing.
He's got one of his feet off the ground with studs in the air. You think that's him in control?
Because the other leg is on the ground. He's sliding.
I completely agree with the other leg.
If both his legs were on the ground, he wouldn't move because
the first one that he's putting forward is what hits the lad. However he hits it.
But it's not like one leg's up in the air towards his knee, is it?
It's off the ground.
It has to be, otherwise it won't move.
No, I know.
I know that. If you don't slide like that, both legs, you've got to be on your front or your back, haven't you?
I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. I'm talking about what modern day officiating is like. I tell you something right now, if that was one of their players doing the exact opposite, we'd be screaming for him to be sent off.
No chance.
We'd be screaming.
We wouldn't even mention it on the game.
I said before he came down, Dave, I said if that was the other team, I said no, I wouldn't even want that for a ref for us.
I don't think
in that moment, if we're in the stands, we won't go, hey, like we always said we wouldn't.
The reaction of the opposition players is always telling.
Well, Will Hughes was basically laughing, wasn't he?
They're all just shrugging their shoulders.
Was he actually laughing?
Nobody's remonstrating with the officials because I don't think they even think it's a foul.
Joachim Anderson's sort of giggling to Calvert-Lewin, and then Will Hughes comes over to him and sort of goes. It's like the Gary Lineker look when Paul Gascoigne's losing the plot and over not sure about that. Have a word here, it's like sort of embarrassed, I think.
Look, what I'm saying about it is, I'm not trying to go back on what I've said this. I'm trying to do this in regards to what the game is these days. You'll see easier than that. You'll see tackles that aren't anywhere near as bad as that, and I'm not saying it is a bad tackle where people will still get sent off. I'm looking at through the eyes of what they're going to do there. As soon as that goes to, he gets told to go and look at it. We know it's off. The point I'm making in regard to him, firstly, I don't think he needs to do what he did. The area he's in, what's going to happen when he wins it?
When he wins the ball back and we nearly score.
But what I'm saying is, he's on his deck, he's not getting up and scoring, is he? Let's be realistic here. If you watch that move itself, he's gone back to win the ball, great. It's an Everton way, we'd all be screaming, all of our crowd there, Les who's done that, be jumping up and down saying, brilliant, that's what you want your striker to do, work as hard as he possibly can all game. I just think there's a little bit more naivety that you could have in a situation like that. I'm not saying he should not be making tackles up front. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying be a little bit of aware what the situation is, the context of what it is. You putting your foot up off the ground in a situation where Everton really don't need to win that ball.
I totally disagree. Like I don't think that's a player getting frustrated or angry or lunging in or anything like that. I think it's an honest tackle to try and win the ball, and it might be a foul, but it's 100% not a red card. Like Paddy said, look at the rules. If you saw Dermot Gallagher after this game going through it on Sky, be like, well, the rules say this, this, and this. The rules in this instance are nothing like that. Like I remember we were watching this. It's on the screen now, Paddy, and we were saying at the time, like Calvert-Lewin does really well there. Like the ball hits his back, he comes back, he wins the ball, and he gives it to somebody, and we have a decent chance to score. Like at no point in any of that did we go, we've dived in there, or that's a foul, or it's a bit risky. At any point,
no, I don't think anybody did. And the big surprise is that somebody a million miles away decides to intervene.
Well, someone about a metre away from me here as well, and Dave.
I'm going to get absolute pelters for this, by the way. But opinions are opinions. I'm saying why I think he's gone because of the way we are today. You can see why he's created a situation where there's a decision to be made. Do we therefore trust these people? We've just sat here slagging off referees, VAR. You don't do it, then it doesn't happen. And I'm not saying that I don't want him to do it, but you have to have in your mind that if this goes a bit dodgy, if I'm making this a 50-50 decision for some twat up in, where is it, Stoke or something, yeah, you're making him make you are making a decision for them. And in the history of it since it came along, has that ever been trustworthy? No. So that's what I'm saying. He doesn't have to do it. I know I'm going to get slated, and I've already been done by you three anyway. But that's the perspective I'm trying to stick with. Do you get what I mean?
I do get what you mean. Like you're not criticising the player, are you? You're basically saying the game's gone, and the players need to adjust for these stupid decisions that are happening. But I won't just ask this to you, I'm not singing you out, I'll ask it to all three of you. Do you think that gets given as a red card if it's Tarkowski who does it instead of Calvert-Lewin?
It's an excellent question, to be fair, because then you keep saying that word context, you're saying a centre-back there who throws himself at everything and is a top-class defender. He gets a yellow card. That's what I think. That's an excellent question.
That's a problem, I think. Because a red card should be a red card. Whoever's doing it, wherever it is on the pitch.
It should be regardless, shouldn't it?
Well, they looked at that and gone, strikers tackle, yeah, get him off.
It's a good point.
I just think it's a massive fuck up. Like I don't think there's, there might be people on, like, I'm sure this thinking it's a conspiracy against us, it's corrupt, etc. etc. Like I just think I just think what's happened is that they've seen Calvert-Lewin's foot was a bit high, and they said you need to come and look at this. And like Paddy said, the dominoes fall. Then as soon as they say you need to come and look at this, it all self-fulfills.
It's going to be given as a red. Yeah. From the point at which the referee is sent to the screen, that's a red card. And it's almost as though somebody's gone, you need to give this.
So in some senses, like that, the VAR call to say, come and look at this, is more important than what the referee actually decides on the field.
Well, I would ask, what is the point in the on-field referee?
It was like with the linesman at Spurs, wasn't it? The linesman didn't give a thing with Gomez.
Similar.
Do you know what I mean? You've got a referee not making a decision, you've got a linesman not making a decision, but yet it gets overturned. I understand that's what the absolute fuck up in all of it is. Again, repeat myself, I won't say it again, but he's aware of this more than any of us there, in what the fuck up is with football, like Matt said there, the way in which the game has just gone. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's aware of that, and I feel, and harsh as it sounds, I feel, and it's a moment of a situation, isn't it, but I feel as if you're thinking I'm going to go down here with my studs up in an area where it's not a desperate place, I need to try and win this ball. Do I therefore, and in a split second you've got, do I do this? Well, no, that's all I'm saying.
I was in favour of VAR because I felt as though the referees needed help too much. Originally, too much was going on within the game for them to adjudicate totally by themselves. They'd have needed eyes in the back of the head to come to every decision they needed. But can any of us look at tonight and think that VAR has helped with how that game was officiated tonight? The only thing it's done is make things worse. It's complicated matters. And I think that goes for most of the games I've watched in recent months.
The irony in that is, I will say, if that still happened from a ref with no VAR, I'd have been fuming that he got sent off. But that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying about why it's the context.
Is that the sound of Dave backtracking?
No, I've worded this appallingly. I'd go down as a broadcaster in the last fucking 10 years. But do you understand what I mean? Please, do you understand what I mean? I do you understand, Matt? I know you're looking at me with your eyes.
Not really. It's just like, I just think it's an awful decision. Like, it's
he gets a straight red. Even from the twat on there now, rather than going to VAR, I'm sitting there thinking, at the very least, that's dodgy. That.
I think I'd be less annoyed if it was a straight red and it got overturned, because at least then they would have looked at it and gone, well, actually, his foot is a bit high, but there's no malice, there's no endangering the opponent, and VAR looks at it in slow motion, not slow motion, sees it a few times and then goes, actually, that's probably a bit harsh, you know, it should be a yellow, don't send him off. But, you know, the referee ultimately, I think, has got it spot on with his original decision, and VAR's come in and gone, I mean, what would it take for an official to go and look at that screen and not change the mind? Like, would they have to like cleanly win the ball with no contact whatsoever, and they go, actually, I think it might not be a red card? Like, you know, what are we doing here with this?
No, that's an excellent point, and I do remember from once it happened, I think it was like actually went into the headlines that it actually happens. You're spot on about that. I think, you know, it just takes referee out of complete context and control in the match, doesn't it? Therefore, what do you think happens with it? Just in a general question, it's not going to get any difference, is it? They're not going to take, and they might as well, people have said it already, haven't they? Take refs off the pitch and just do it all from VAR.
Well, I mean, hopefully, I'm sure Everton will appeal that, right? You'd imagine.
I think the big shame here is that we end up talking yet again about officiating.
Yeah.
Like, we should be talking about the football, the 90 minutes, everything that played out. And
not much happens to be fair, Paddy,
No, but we want to be talking about football, don't we?
Yeah.
In principle, we want to be talking about Danjuma and his impact on the first half. We want to be talking about whether, for argument's sake, Beto should come in for Calvert-Lewin. These are the interesting. These are the interesting things that we want to be discussing in
should
football.
Beto have had a penalty, maybe?
Well, I think he maybe should have done.
Me and him looked at each other and just started shaking our heads.
Well, if we're going by what happened on Monday night, any contact is a foul, apparently.
Well, I suppose by law of what I was just talking about then he should get a penalty, shouldn't he? Some of the shit that I've just been coming out with. But the question I wanted to ask the lads there, aside from what happened with Calvert-Lewin, which is the main talking point, that lineup I thought was, I didn't understand it, to be honest with you. That he's gone all out to get through in an FA Cup when the league's far more important. This is going back to the Fulham type of thing we were arguing about here, Matt. Now it feels even worse that we've got a replay coming up. We've got McNeil, looks like he's out, potentially out for the season. You've got Calvert-Lewin out for 3 consecutive games. You know, I'm not saying fucking hell, yeah, that shows you, you know, you deserve what you get now. But that's the situation we're in, isn't it? And how difficult that feels now. And you've got, I think it's just after Villa when they come to Goodison, isn't it? Yeah. That midweek come up to us before we go to Fulham. Shot ourselves in the foot.
The emotional part of me, though, Matt, is like, I kind of want to get them back to Goodison and smash them everywhere now. It's like, I get Dave's being very logical there, but like, after feeling like we've been wrong and, you know, watching us, and I think we were the better team. Like, it wouldn't surprise me there, it's easy to say, but we were in the ascendancy at that point in the game when Dom gets sent off. We were the dominant team, we were creating chances. It felt like we could have won that in normal time if that red card didn't happen. I do kind of want to get them back to Goodison, beat them and try and have a crack at this competition now.
Yeah, we were all over them just before the red card. Like, they barely even had a touch in our final third, and then that happens. And I leant over to you to say, and I'm not ashamed to say it, like, after that first half, I was like, to be honest, I'd rather lose here than have a replay, because this is dire. But now, absolutely, I want to get them back to Goodison, kick their heads off the park, win about 4-0, and 2-foot the referee for good measure.
Hopefully it's, what's his name, Kavanagh? Hopefully it's him again.
They're all just saying faces, aren't they?
We won our only ever game since 1999, by the way. Do you not remember that?
That was in COVID.
Blatant penalty ever, wasn't it?
The irony of that is he got sent to look at that with VAR when who tries to score it. Calvert-Lewin tries to score it, trips over Trent Alexander-Arnold, doesn't he? And then he gives us the pen. That was that twat.
I mean, that was an obvious penalty.
It was even the books.
Paddy, how do you feel about that in general, performance-wise? You know, I think Branthwaite had another good game, didn't he? As we always say now. Danjuma was good, I think, for the first 30. We faded a little bit. But we might have to see a lot more of him now after what happened with McNeil, mightn't we?
I thought they were all right. Like you say, on top before the red card, without ever really looking like they were going to capitalise on any one of the chances. And I suppose that's been a familiar theme now for quite a while for Everton, creating chances but not really looking like scoring. Danjuma bright for the first 30 or so, as you say. I thought Jarrod Branthwaite more or less throughout was impeccable, and for a youngster like him, a 21-year-old as he is, to just be in the right place all the time, to be there to snuff out danger and to clear crosses that come in. I think that's a real testament to his maturity in the game, his game savvy, how he plays football. So great from him again. I do think there's a lack of cutting edge in the team at the moment, and I do think certain players, particularly in wide areas, are looking tired. Dwight McNeil and Jack Harrison again tried really hard but lacked any kind of threat in the final third, and that's probably why you don't really want to have a replay, do you? Like the best case scenario here is a result within the 90 minutes and for Everton not to have another game in January, but as it happens there will be another match now, and my concern is you've got a replay on top of an injury to a key player in Dwight McNeil, on top of a red card to Calvert-Lewin, and a thin squad is going to be stretched further. And this is in a period where we kind of felt as though Everton would have a bit of a breather. They'd have a couple of weeks between the Aston Villa game on the 14th and Fulham, I think it was, on the 30th. Two and a bit weeks to kind of get back in tune and to get players back fit. Now it looks like there's going to be another game thrown in, and a few more kind of injuries and suspensions are thrown on top of that. So a little bit of concern there with a view to the rest of the season. I still think the Premier League is the bread and butter at the end of the day. And after the 10-point deduction, if Everton are going to do anything this season, it's just going to be purely to stay in the Premier League. So I think those hopes have taken a dent tonight in a number of different ways, and that goes beyond the performance for me. It's less about the performance and more about the ramifications of what's happening.
I think they're good about the performance because
fine.
They came into that after 4 defeats. You know, we're still missing our best outfield player in Decore. Listen, with 15 minutes to go there, they could have easily just sunk and conceded, lost 1-0. They're out, and we forget all about it. And we're all, and I know, you Dave might have preferred that to be out of it, but that competitive spirit sort of came through. Didn't it? When Palace went at 11 men compared to our 10, did they have a chance really in the game?
Time 9.
Yeah, well, we had 9, didn't we, for a bit, didn't we, as well? Yeah, we snuffed them out really well, and I fancy us to beat them in the replay. And listen, being in the FA Cup, as much as it's horrible, we're looking at the league position and where we are, I still think it's a good thing, and it's still good to think about Wembley, still think about us winning a trophy, even though things are tough at the moment. Go on, Matt.
And let's chuck a great big dollop of positivity into this.
Yes.
Now the dust is all settled, we've got another cup game at Goodison Park under the lights.
Yeah.
Someone said there was a chance that we wouldn't have another one of them, so we got one more.
Can I throw one more thing? Branthwaite might have played his last ever game for Everton today.
Why?
He can get sold now, can't he? Sorry, you can delete that at the end, man.
Can you edit that so my thing comes second?
Gonna leave it in.
Hang on, do you start him against Palace when they come over again?
Yes.
In this amount of games?
Yeah, he's 21 years old. He's
a centre-half.
absolutely pissed all over them tonight, didn't he?
Centre-halves can play 400 games in a row without getting tired.
Well, the Jordan Pickford got a rest tonight. I went for Virginia, by the way. I thought he was absolutely fine, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was good. Did everything he needed to, and probably a little bit more. I think the defence on the whole played very well. You consider Coleman, Mikolenko and the 2 centre-backs. Restricted Palace to basically a few long shots from Eze.
He didn't have a sniff really, has he? Did he?
Didn't have a shot from target
compared to the 3-2 game.
I thought he was the best player on the pitch in the 3-2 game, and by quite a distance. And here, he didn't seem to make any kind of breakthrough in the final third.
Diving again.
He was diving again, Matt. I wasn't going to bring that up.
Who's this?
Eze got booked for diving again.
But I thought
Really bad that as well.
He's all fat, no shit.
there is a little bit. There is some style over substance, admittedly.
He's very Billy Electroff. I've had a pint.
He's a little bit quicker than Billy Electroff.
Where was Lise as well? His best mate.
He's injured, but quite a lot of us around the table are quicker than Billy Electroff. So that's something. I thought Everton dealt with him pretty well. In fairness, particularly Onana on the defensive side. And of course they restricted Palace to very little. If anyone was going to go on and win the game 0-0 and 11 apiece, it was going to be Everton. Everton had the better chances, but the game obviously turns after the red card, and from then on it's about preserving the draw, I suppose, and getting Palace back to Goodison. I still think it's a game that Everton could do without, particularly given what we've had tonight in terms of injuries and suspensions. But it's better than going out altogether, I suppose. Let's see what happens. I think there are some positives in there, particularly with Branthwaite and Tarkowski.
Will we know our opponents by the time the replay comes on?
Yes.
And that's when all hell breaks loose on these podcasts, isn't it? When we start finding out that we've got Chelsea away or someone like that.
I'll never be gutted that we're still in a cup competition.
You've changed.
You know, they dug in and battled tonight, and you can't. You know, it means a lot to these lads clearly because of the way they played.
Yeah, performance was fine, not a problem with performance. I actually was going to say after Paddy there, I thought Onana had his best game for a while for us.
What's worse for us there? Hanging on for a 0-0 draw or conceding at the last minute and going out.
They deserve credit for that, don't they?
Yeah.
And it was a very typical Sean Dyche away from home performance.
Yeah,
I felt, and I mean that in a positive sense in terms of the grit, the determination, the ability to defend the penalty area and not cede many chances in the game. All those kind of things, Everton did well. And like I said, I think they had the better chances in the game too. So it's not the end of the world, but I still think that we're when we look back at tonight, we're not going to be talking about the game, the 90 minutes that's played out. We're going to be talking about Calvert-Lewin's suspension and what looks like a bad injury to Dwight McNeil. I think those things could hurt Everton long term.
That point that you sort of made, or when you didn't go full head with it, but that extra game to me is a bit of a nightmare. And if we won after that as well, how many games do you have to win to get to the final? 6, is it? 7?
Well, you're going to have to win the third round now.
We're 1 point above the relegation zone. The team below us has got a game in hand. You tell me what's the priority?
8. 5 rounds to the final, so 6 games. We'll have to
answer that question. What's the priority when you're 1 point above the side? You've got a game in hand.
I look at us and in real terms, we're 11 points ahead of them. Where we are, aren't we? Like,
it's not going to happen. We're not going to get back, are we? What do you think, Paddy? Do you think we get 10 points back?
I think
we're very surprised if they got 10 points.
No, in real terms, we are 11 points ahead of them. But look at that and think over the course of another, 18 games left.
No.
We should pull away from them because we've proven ourselves a much better football team literally this season than they are.
We were 8 points ahead of them, weren't we, a couple of weeks ago? They've got a game in hand for the shocking thing that happened to the lad they've got at Bournemouth. They've got to play that game again. They win it to go above us in the bottom 3. It's not in our hands to stay up. I can't. I know we've got loads of games left and all that, but those 10 points are still fucking huge, and there's no doubt in everybody's mind. All of us as fans, I don't care what anybody says. They're going to be in Dyche's mind. They're going to be in the players' mind. He's going to use it positively. I think, as we've mentioned in the past, he's going to use it for everybody to say, right, we've got to get out. We've got to win this game back against the wall stuff and all of that. But I tell you what, talking about cup competitions, I get Fulham, as we've argued about, because it was going to be a semi-final. This right now in a third round, an extra replay. Who knows who we get in the?
So do you think we should have kicked one into our own net in the last minute?
Come on, let's be sensible.
No, but you're saying it's such a massive detriment for us. Like, what should they have done?
I'm saying what's more important.
So they should have kicked one in their own net.
I'm not saying do that, Matt. I'm saying, say we go and beat Palace at home, and then we get, I don't know, fucking down the road FC and play them in the 4th round and go through to the last 16. I'm supporting Everton. I'm not sitting in that game thinking I want us out, I want us out. But in my opinion,
you're worrying about the...
Yeah, exactly. And in my opinion, the worst outcome of that game has happened. Add to that, the striker we've got is out for 3 games. McNeil looks like his leg's still at Palace on his way home. what could be worse than what's happened there?
Well, the players and manager clearly don't think that. Otherwise, they would have kicked one into their own net in the last minute, wouldn't they?
Obviously not. I know what you're trying to say to me and trying to.
They wouldn't
Get
have
a bit
fought as
impossible.
hard as they did in the last 10 minutes.
I know what you're trying to do to me, yeah.
I'm being genuine. If going out the cup competition, if Sean Dyche thought going out the cup competition was the best thing for us, why didn't he just concede at the end?
Because he's obviously not thinking that. He's a football manager who wants to win every game. I want us to win every game.
It doesn't sound like you do.
Look, mate, I was crying my eyes out when Onana comes up with that ridiculous penalty against Fulham. I will do the exact same if that happens when Palace come to Goodison.
Keep him off that penalty.
But that doesn't change me being the exact same blue as us four sitting here. What does is what happens when we're 1 point. Last 2 years, we had to fucking do something ridiculous to stay, quite ridiculous to stay in the Premier League. I want to be sitting here in April saying to the lads, all right, we're still in the FA Cup there, let's all go and party, let's not be asked what's going on in the league. That's not Everton, no, that's not the way we had it.
Sorry, Paddy, I'll come to you now, but I just can't worry about a team that we've been 11 points better than in the first half of the season.
But we're not, we're 1 point better than them. That's the reality, that's where we are.
We're getting the 10 points back.
I think we're getting 8 point back.
They've changed the process. They've put in a new process now that compresses the entire hearing appeal, blah, 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 between now and the end of the football financial season, which is the 1st of June, when they have the board meeting, they transfer the shares from the relegated clubs to the promoted clubs. Because they've changed the entire process, they're basically going to shit the case and go, right, Everton get the points back, we're going to suspend 6. And if they do it again next season, they lose 6. We're getting them back.
How can you do that in spite of what everyone around us is
Because
going to
they
say?
can't.
We're
They
going
can't treat Nottingham Forest different to they treated us 2 months ago. That would be insane. But they can't punish us in this season for something that happened 2 years ago and then punish Forest this season for something that happened last season.
Yes, but if you're a club that stayed up and that comes back and Everton get that to the nth degree, you can look at and think.
They just turn around to them and say,
like
we
the same with
changed the
Leeds.
process.
Leeds have gone down.
They've
Burnley have
clarified
gone
the
down.
process.
They're still trying to. What?
Yeah, good process,
No,
lads.
but I'm talking about. Look at what happened there when people are talking about Leeds are trying to sue us and all this shit.
They're leaving themselves liable to high
How
court
far are they
challenge.
going to go back?
That's the thing. They changed the process now, so they only go back to last season and apply the points this season. That's the new regime they just announced. That's why they said the article was, 2 weeks from now we'll know if we're getting hit again, Forest, blah, blah, blah. But that will be decided by the end of this season. They're compressing it all. Whereas we were punished for something that happened 2 years ago, this season. So they're going to give us them back, suspend until next season. Otherwise, there's going to be high court challenges all over the place.
Yeah, but what if you're a team like Luton there, who what? The best bottom three side I've seen, Ross Barkley's turned into an Iniesta.
Oh, God, I'm going now.
No, what I'm saying is if that happens, Everton get those points back, and that turns it round, and then it means Luton have gone down at the expense of us getting our points back. Do they not have a decision then? They can't. They just can't say, "Hang on, look, we've just
Let's
gone
assume
down."
that we'll finish 17th by virtue of the points coming back, which
You
we
know what I
won't.
mean? If they were to go down via us getting points back, surely they have a case to change that. They have a case to say we've got to go and start the season again.
That's the Premier League's fault for letting the cat out of the bag. And I don't think it stopped at Everton. If let's say, for argument's sake, Nottingham Forest had done this season, and then their appeal is heard after the end of the season, as is likely, then I think that opens up a massive can of worms as well.
Even now it does, doesn't it? Because there's been
Not to do super hard football chat, but the timeline says the appeal's heard before the end of May. So the start of June is when they have the board meeting, when the relegated teams transfer their shares in the company. So that's the deadline for them.
Yeah, but the season finishes around, I
Yeah.
can't remember off the top of my head, but 18th, 19th.
Yeah. But
And
the timeline is so the appeal is heard before they are officially relegated, which is the 1st of June.
But after the end of the season, which causes an issue with regards to the
so
integrity of the competition.
They fucked it.
So I do think there is an issue with the procedure here and the way the Premier League have handled it. But my point was going to be that I think it's still scandalous for me that we're talking about a team that took 26 points in its own right in the first half of the season. Extrapolate that out over the course of a full year, a full season, and that's 52 points. I mean, to me, that's probably about 8th in the table, give or take. It's still scandalous that we're talking about how important a replay is going to be, how important an injury to Calvert-Lewin or a suspension to
way around.
a suspension to Calvert-Lewin and an injury to Dwight McNeil. They are going to be I think that's a crying shame for this group of players because they deserve more. I think the manager deserves more. There have been tangible signs of progress. What I would say is if Everton play in the same way in the second half of the season as they did in the first, they'll be just fine. Yeah. The concern is what happens if you strip loads of players out and something does change. And that was my fear about tonight with McNeil and Calvert-Lewin. It's what happens if this team changes substantially, if key figures are stripped out and we more or less have to fashion a new team. I suppose there are some positives with Virginia's performance, with Branthwaite's performance, with Danjuma's performance. Like I say, I don't think we'll be focusing on the football really. I think everything will be about what's happened more or less in decision-making sense and with an injury.
Well, Matt and Dave sounded like two barristers then, didn't they, going at it? So it's a lot of off the pitch stuff. Listen, we've done 35 minutes plus Les there on a 0-0, so we'll leave it there.
Still haven't told us what you think, Matt.
I think we'll be fine. Like, we've been 11 points better than Luton in the first half of the season. We'll be best on them in the second half of the season. Like, yeah, we'll be sound.
On the way to Wembley, are we, as well?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, we'll remind you of this when we're in Wembley for the semi-final or a final.
You get your tweet ready like you did about me after what happened with Fulham.
Well, you should get yours ready for me when we go all the way there.
Have a night out.
Listen, we'll leave it there. Cheers to Matt, Dave and Paddy and to Les at Sellers Park as well. That's been a much longer than anticipated post-match podcast for Everton 0, Crystal Palace 0. We'll do it again in about 10 days. We'll be back next week building up to the game against Aston Villa. Second in the league, bring them on. Up the top east. We'll speak to you soon.